when we're going through something in our lives, an issue, a problem, whatever it may be, when we're going through it and it's hard and we overcome it, we tend to put it behind us, out of sight, out of mind. But the reality is that what we were going through, somebody out there is going through it too. And so instead of sweeping it under the rug, I think that's the easy thing to do. And I think that God placed us here to give our testimonies. Whatever we've walked through and whatever we've been through, it can help other people. And so for a long time, I've wanted to create a video like this to raise awareness on a condition that I've been living with for a very long time. And so that's why I've created this video. I want to tell the world that there is a condition out there that you might have, that you don't even know that you have. And so I'll start by saying that probably around the time I was 14, I developed a condition called misophonia. What misophonia is, the word literally translates to hatred of sound. And it's a neurological condition. You do develop it in like the adolescent age, mostly in females, but it can target anybody. And misophonia is basically, it's a condition where noise and sounds trigger your brain to respond in a negative manner. And what I mean by that is that noises like chewing, slapping, slurping, pretty much anything oral, anything that has to do with like the mouth or the teeth, any noise like that can cause a trigger, and the trigger sends a note to my brain that says just go in overdrive. And what happens is I go into a violent fit of rage. I'm angry, I'm explosive, my face turns red, I get mad and I yell, and it's completely uncontrollable. And I never knew what this was growing up. I just knew I would hear a noise, I would hear somebody chewing close to me, and like that, I would get violently angry. And it's an anger that comes from so deep within that you cannot control. And so I probably started noticing this when I was about 14, and it would get progressively worse as the years went on. Not only did the anger and the response get worse, but the actual triggers started to develop into bigger things. So for example, my first trigger ever was somebody chewing on an ice cube. The sound of somebody chewing on an ice cube puts me into a whole nother world. And those triggers escalated into bags of chips. Not just eating the chips, but actually opening a bag of chips. The sound of a bag of chips opening, the chewing of the ice, slapping the bubble gum, licking your lips. I mean, everybody that suffers with misophonia has a different trigger. So it's not all categorized under the same thing. My specific triggers happen to be the chewing of the ice and chips and opening up bags. Unfortunately, the victims of my anger tend to be the ones that are closest to me. Growing up, or I guess, you know, through college and after college, my main trigger was my mom. She was the closest one to me. She's the one that was always there for me. Love her so much, but I'm pretty sure I've looked her in the eye and told her to die when she was chewing her lunch. And it sounds awful, and I know it sounds a little bit crazy, and that's why I've been so hesitant to even create this video, because part of me does feel a little bit crazy in saying what I just said, but it's true. And the reason that I feel it's so important for me to bring it to light now is because back then, you know, before I went to college, I had no idea what this was. I thought this was just like me being over dramatic, but I knew there was something more. I just didn't know what. And in college, my roommate texted me one day, totally out of the blue. She texted me, "I think you have this." And underneath, it was the word misophonia. And so that night, I just remember Googling that word. and all of these people's, testimonies pop up. I get angry when people chew. I can't sit at the dinner table with my family. I have to put on headphones when people eat around me, and it makes me cry. And I'm reading all of these things that I've personally experienced, and something just clicked. I was like, I'm not alone. There are other people that are suffering from whatever this is, and so what is it? So I spent maybe 3-4 years just researching, trying to figure out, yes, there's a term for it, it's called misophonia, but what is it that causes me to act this way? What is it that causes me to lash out? And so it wasn't until 2016 where a study was done, and they actually were able to come up with a scientific evidence that it is a neurological condition. It's a part of your brain that's connected to the auditory part of your head, and during adolescence, those two parts are supposed to disconnect. They're supposed to split, and mine never did. And so what happens is, especially when I'm in a situation of stress, when I'm angry already, the triggers send the signal to my brain that much faster and that much harder. It's definitely not an easy thing to explain. I would recommend, if you are living with this sound, this hatred of sound that you absolutely, it's taking over your life, I completely recommend do some research on this word, misophonia. You'll know right away if you have it. It's pretty easy to tell. And the other thing that I wanted to point out was, because now the studies have been done, because now it's becoming so relevant, and you're seeing things on Instagram, or you're seeing memes about people chewing and hating the sound of people chewing, because we're seeing this, I just want to be clear that there is a difference between being annoyed by somebody's chewing or somebody chewing loudly. There's a difference between that and going into a fit of rage where you are actually not able to control your mind. You're not able to control your actions. And for those that do feel that is them, I suggest that you do some research and just familiarize yourself a little bit with what you can do to help yourself. There is no treatment. There's no cure for misophonia. There is a treatment for it, and I discovered the treatment over a year and a half ago. There are 2 doctors in the entire country that perform this treatment, and one is in Seattle, Washington, and the other happened to be in York, Pennsylvania, which is an hour and a half from where I lived. And I just knew that was God saying, you need help. Go drive to this man, you need help. So I did, and I met with the doctor. He knew right away that I was a candidate. And what I had to do was, for 1 year, I wore sound generators in my ears, which were just hearing aids. But instead of the hearing aids amplifying noise, they produced a white noise constantly in my ear. For an entire year, I wore them. They had different volume controls. So if I was in a place where it was quiet and I wanted to read, I would turn them down and I would just hear a soft whisper, just to cancel out any extra noise in the background. And if I was in a situation where I knew that I was going to be triggered, candy wrappers, pens clicking, somebody chewing ice, whatever it was, if I knew I was going into a situation where there's a potential that I could be triggered, I would turn the volume up. It wasn't masking the sound, it wasn't putting a Band-Aid over it, it wasn't like I was popping my headphones in to cover the sound. I still was able to hear it, but it kept my mind and my brain, and it was I think it was a mental state, kept me composed. It allowed me to deal with it before hitting that trigger of going into that fit of rage. And so I did the program for a year. I had the sound generators in for a year. I had every other month I had checkups with the doctor over the phone. It was the most simple process of my life, and it was the best decision of my life. And after a year, I'm excited and happy to say that I don't have to wear the sound generators anymore. I am at a place where I am so much more controlled with my response, so much more controlled with my actions, and I don't feel that I will ever need them again, the sound generators, but I do plan to hang on to them if something escalates in the future. But what I wanted my main purpose for creating this video is to let you or anybody around you that you may feel has this issue, has this neurological condition, to let them know there is no treatment, there is no cure, but there's a treatment. And this treatment that I underwent for a year was the best gift I ever gave myself, because nobody ever should have to live with this feeling inside them that they can't control. Nobody should have to leave the dinner table and excuse themselves and walk away from a family dinner. Those are little moments and little experiences in my life that I hate to even think that I had to leave or had to walk away or couldn't enjoy a dinner with my family. And so as soon as I started the sound generators after 2 months, I remember I was able to sit at a table at a restaurant and, with other people around, and I just was smiling the whole time because I was able to enjoy a meal with my family like any person should be able to do. And so, again, while this may seem so silly to some of you, and it's definitely not a common thing to hear, I just wanted to raise a little bit of awareness in any way that I could, just to let you know that there is a little bit of help out there, and whatever you're battling with, it's real. And so to those of you who don't have it but might know somebody that does have misophonia, just be gentle. It is a real thing. Don't make fun of them. Don't chew in their face on purpose. That has happened to me. It's not funny, and this is a real thing. And so I just ask that you be gentle and aware and just a little bit sensitive to their situation. That's really all I have and all I wanted to say, and I feel really good that I was able to get this off my chest and just know that, through my struggles, I'm overcoming, and I've still got a ways to go with it, but through my struggles, I just want to be able to help at least one person. One person would be my goal if I could help through this video. So please share and send it again to anybody that might need some help.